With the Bantamweight title recently changing hands, the discussions around MERAB against Umar or Davison are actively going on among fans on social media, and most likely in the office between Dana and his matchmakers. While UFC has signaled interest in making MERAB versus Umar next, the figgy possibility is also there. MERAB has been clear that he doesn't think Umar deserves a title shot at this point, and that the only reason he is even in the discussion for contesting for the title is his last name. For somebody who had to win 11 fights in a row just to get a title shot, this is not a surprising take. He prefers Figgy next, a fight that also is obviously an easier matchup for MERAB than Umar. What direction the UFC will take this in is yet to be seen. CHAEL Sonnen has an option in mind that not many people would have even considered. He is perplexed by the fact that nobody seems to be talking about the possibility of an immediate rematch between MERAB and O'Malley. CHAEL can't quite understand why Sean isn't granted the same opportunity as a few dominant champions were following losing their titles.
The very first option is the champion that drops the belt gets a rematch for his belt. It was a respect that was shown to every single great champion. And by great champion, I'm talking about champions that could also move the needle. All of them were offered rematches. From Conor on down, more recently Israel Adesanya, right into it, I'm sharing with you. All the greats, except Sean. It wasn't even a built-in piece. Maybe that's the part that's bothering me. Maybe that's the part where I haven't let it go. Maybe that is the part where I know that Sean is going, he's got something going, he's got the labor, and he's going to be out for just a minute, but I'm sharing with you. Nobody really knows how long you're going to be out. There's also a motivation factor there. Motivation could largely be based upon opportunities, of which I didn't see any yet. I only saw them taken away. I'm just sharing. That is what I saw. But now you've got MERAB, and you got Nurmagomedov, and you got Figueiredo, and they can't seem to quite figure it out.
Paul Felder and Michael Bisping react to Khabib mauling Belal Muhammad in the gym, something that Belal spoke about in his conversation with Demetrius Johnson. Nurmagomedov's ability to maintain a physical shape to the degree of being able to go multiple hard wrestling rounds with fighters in training has been talked about extensively by many who have had the experience of sharing a gym with him over a period of a long time. With Belal Muhammad becoming basically Khabib's student, he's been sharing stories of Khabib still dominating guys that are active UFC fighters during sparring, including himself, for a while now. In a recent conversation with Mighty Mouse, Belal shared that Khabib basically manhandled him while grappling, ordered coffee mid-session, and even after the round was over, he didn't get off of Belal, telling him that he must find a way to get out under him. Seems like Khabib is using some of that old-school Abdulmanap-style training practices. Felder and Bisping were of course amused to hear this.
Belal there, talking about training with Khabib, who was a lightweight. Belal is currently the welterweight champion of the world, and it'd been so embarrassing grappling with him.
He told me about that.
Because he's ordering coffees mid-grapple.
He would also say, like, you'd get done a round, and the round would ring, like the bell would go off, and he was like, I was in the cage with Khabib, and he'd be like, okay, like I'm waiting for him to let me up, and he's like, the round's not over, you're still on your back, like you got to get up. And obviously that's, as you can hear there, not easy to do when you're facing Khabib, who's also just huge right now, I'm sure. And Belal would be like, it could be an extra round or so before you actually got to a position where he'd let the round kind of just end. And the guy's doing that and ordering coffees at the same time.
Oh, so you're saying that when the round ends, he's like, no.
Yeah, like a couple times. Yeah, a couple times he'd be doing extra work with Khabib afterwards to work on stuff. And the round would end, and Belal would kind of relax, thinking he was going to, take a break, and then they'd start over, and he would make him continue to work until he got out of that position.
Dana White surprises podcast hosts with how unfiltered he is when speaking about UFC fighters who he doesn't like, revealing that a part of his job is to hide the fact that some of the athletes in the promotion, including ones which UFC significantly markets, are not his favorite people. Despite his tendency to go uncensored in interviews or press conferences, Dana doesn't often reveal backstage information to the public, and almost never speaks about his personal feelings towards specific fighters, especially if they're negative. Famously, he's had fallouts with fighters within and outside of the company, often sparking exchange of insults and negative commentary from both sides that last for a long time. But rarely does Dana say anything about having fighters that he doesn't like, and his criticism of the athletes under contract with UFC mostly touches on performances. It is natural that UFC brass, including Dana himself, wouldn't personally like every single one of the multiple hundred fighters who are part of the promotion, but in most cases that's irrelevant, as it has nothing to do with business. Well, Dana pulled back the curtain a bit, revealing that he feels like some of the fighters under contract with him are pieces of shit, and his objective is to hide that fact from the fans. Who exactly he was thinking about when he made the statement is of course unknown, but most likely there are different candidates.
We never lost that connection with the fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still to this day this sport that if you go to a UFC fight, the odds of meeting some of your favorite fighters are fucking almost 100%.
Yeah.
You're gonna meet them, get pictures with them, sign stuff, and they're all really good to the fucking fans. It's just that is the sport.
Don't you get a lot of people who like especially in the fight game who come in with a lot of bravado, talk a lot of shit, but are you able to then register, or this is kind of like false bravado? Like this isn't, you know what I mean? Like the difference between
that
like
doesn't matter to me. The thing is with me is when you come in, whoever you are, that's what I'm selling. Right? What I don't like is there's people that come in that are pieces of fucking shit. There's guys that are bad guys.
Yeah.
My job is to make sure you don't know
that he's a piece
who
of
the
shit.
fucking pieces of shit are.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's my fucking job.
That's what I want to know.
Dan Hooker teases a fight announcement coming up soon. After defeating Mateusz Gamrot, the Hangman racked up 3rd win in a row, which put him in a good position within the division, opening up a path for contesting for championship, potentially with only one more win. Dan had many options after his last victory, including Oliveira, Chandler, Dustin, and Gaethje, all of whom had no fights lined up. Charles Oliveira was presumed to be the most likely next opponent for Hooker, as Dan himself revealed that shortly after UFC 305, UFC brass expressed interest in the Oliveira clash. So many fans expected this to be next. Well, with the announcement of Oliveira versus Chandler, those plans got scrapped, so now there are fewer options available to the Kiwi. Despite this, things appear to be looking good for him, as in a recent interview, Dan revealed that UFC is working on a fight with him, and Conor McGregor might be an option as well. He's flying out to attend a bare-knuckle boxing fight of a reporter who is a friend of his, so the Irishman and the Kiwi might even discuss the prospect of fighting each other face-to-face.
I get why the UFC's doing it the way that they're doing it, is because they want as many guys that make sense for the title as they possibly can. So yeah, Chandler gets by him, you know, I win my next fight. Then you got 3 guys that have like justification for getting a title shot, and it becomes a bit of a bidding war between the lot of us. Obviously, like the Golden Gooses without a dance partner as well. So I got absolutely I got me and Connor have had no ill will at all towards each other. I don't think ever. And I'm also going over to Spain, and I'm going along to his show. I'm getting flown out as a corner man for my man Oscar Willis.